Welcome to People Are Everything, the show where I ask my guests, who are the 5 people that have shaped the person you are today? And today we have Nancy Berger. I'm very excited about this. I've deliberately chosen Nancy to kick off season 3. I just love this woman. So much so, we're arranging to meet up in person. She lives in Boston. I live in Surrey in England. Quite a way to go for a beer. To be truthful, I was already going to Boston, but anywho, we are meeting for a beer in Boston very soon. And I can't wait because I just love talking to Nancy. And I think you're really going to enjoy this. We cover a lot of ground. We talk about love. We talk about grief. We talk about the power of music, the importance of therapy. And we talk about time. We talk about time quite a bit. Yeah, she's an absolute delight. I know you're going to enjoy this one. This is Nancy Berger. Hello, Nancy Berger. I really love saying your name.
Hello, Julie.
Well, I'm Julia. You call me Julie, and I don't mind it.
Oh, shoot. Thank you.
It's fine.
For the
No, it's fine. No, it's fine. I kind of like it. It's just 2 syllables, isn't it? Julie. Because Julia takes ages to say.
Yeah, but Julia is more formal, and at least I don't call you Jules. That would be just offensive.
Well, I'm trying to try that out as well.
Okay.
Jules, 1 syllable. Easy to say.
Reminiscent of a ruby, sapphire, diamond, you know.
Is it? Well, I could relate. So no, Julia I was christened, and if my dad was here now, he'd be correcting you, but I don't really mind. But listen, I love saying your name. I don't know why. It just obviously has, I don't know, it has a lovely sound to it, firstly.
Like a drive-up order?
Well, I was going to mention the burger bit, of course, but it's so quintessentially American, the burger. And I find when I say your name to my British friends, and they say, who are you talking today? Please forgive me, but I go into an American accent and I say your name. I don't know what it is. It's the same with you. It's the same with Matt Ziegler. I don't know what it is.
It's something very Germanic. It's Germanic. It's all the
Matt Ziegler,
yeah.
Nancy Berger.
Oh, wow.
Was terrible accent. But that's what I end up doing. And I think it's an homage to you. But it's great to see you. How are you, first of all?
See you. I'm great, and I'm excited for our conversation.
Well, this is our second conversation, isn't it?
It is.
Because we were hosted by the great Matt Ziegler.
That was fun.
On Just Press Record. Oh, wasn't it?
That was
I really enjoyed it.
Please tune in and listen to that. That was a great conversation. And Matt is epic.
Matt is, I used to be accused of always talking about a guy called Jindy Man, who I do speak about quite often. He'll probably pop up on this podcast, to be fair. So I'm always talking about Jindy, and now I feel like I talk about Matt just as much. So these have become 2 very central men in my life in this sort of podcasting journey I'm on. But what I love about Matt is his energy and enthusiasm, and he's so generous.
He really is.
He just wants everything. He wants everybody to have
everything. Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
Just whatever he can give. And I'm just compelled to try and, do the same for him, because I wonder how many people he puts so much out. I wonder how much he takes in. Because we need Matt to keep going, don't we?
Yeah. Great connection.
So let's campaign for Matt Ziegler's longevity.
Rah, rah.
Yeah. So, that was a wonderful conversation. I loved it because we really got into some stuff. And I think because we'd never met, and that's the whole point of his podcast, isn't it? Just Press Record.
Yeah.
What a great concept.
It is a great concept. And I think it adds magic to it because we didn't know each other. And, and he finds the common threads, which it's a testament to his curiosity. But it was cool because who would have thought, you and I.
I kind of feel like we're friends already as well.
Do
you think that way?
Yeah, I do feel that way. And I know it could sound a little disingenuous to listeners, but that's the magic of when what Matt did in bringing us together as strangers allowed it to be an organic connection somehow.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
There is something in that. And I suppose his curation skills of knowing that we would get on.
Yeah.
But I was saying to someone the other day, with this podcast of mine, because you get the map, don't you, that shows you who's listening in what countries and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I suddenly feel really connected to the world. Like I put the little map up and I go, oh, look, all these different countries. And that's the listeners. But then when I'm thinking about the recordings, it really kind of warms me a bit to know I've now got these, new connections in, we're going to hang out in Boston, for example, in September.
Wait for that.
It's actually going to happen. And this was all because of this podcast.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited about it. I think it's, I'm looking forward to this conversation, Nancy. So, well, we've kind of explained already how we've met, because that's part of my format, is to start with that and say, well, what's the interconnectedness of everybody?
Yeah.
And we know that is through Matt. So I think we can go straight into the sort of who you are, what you're all about bit, because I think, there's so much to you. We do share some commonality.
Yeah.
But I just want you to sort of put it in your words, who you are and what you're all about.
Yeah. The fun thing is there's so much to everybody, right? So what if we take the time to dig in? So who I am is, what I do is, I help people learn how to change their thoughts. That's what I do. I do it packaged in different things. I am a keynote speaker. I am an executive coach. I'm a consultant. So I will go into a company or I'll do a climate survey, or I'll work with a team to shift culture and communications, dynamics. I will work with a C-suite leader to help change the perception that is held by their stakeholders if they're having some sort of a difficulty. We set goals and we work on goals. So I stand in front of audiences and talk about thought transformation. It all really comes down to this one thing. You don't have to feel icky, which sounds kind of overly simple. But when people meet me and talk to me or visit my website or whatever it is, I would hope that they would come away with the thought that I can change the way I feel, the way I experience my life. I have the power to do that. Because communication, leadership, culture, team building, all of these things come down to individuals. And I think that individual people are not super awesome at noticing their own thought tendencies and patterns. So that's what I do.
Yeah. And we're going to come on to other things. You don't get away with it. Because there were some things we talked about on Matt's podcast. I'm going to bring those back in. But just pause on that for a moment. It did have an impact on me, our conversation. There were two main takeaways, because I always think when you meet someone new and you have a great conversation, you can't take it all. That's you can't process everything post. So we all know that as human beings, we just take a handful of things. It might be a feeling, it might be a key message, but as you said, a thought transformation. And I had two when we spoke. One was how we are our own storytellers. So you said something to me like you could look back on your life and look at it this way, or you could reframe it and you could tell yourself a different story. And depending how you kind of view that story is how you take that forward.
Mm-hmm.
And I really thought deeply about that. I thought, you're right. You can look back on your life and take everything that happened to you and spin it one way or another.
Absolutely.
So I took that from you. And the other thing I took from you, and I don't know if you've listened to Adam Bruderly's podcast with me yet. Adam was a 9/11 survivor. He was in floor 61 when the second plane hit. And his podcast is fabulous. But we talk about you in there because he's a time guy. Like, since that, I think it's a consequence of that.
Yeah.
But he's a time guy. And I made some reference to our chat. And I said, that's right. I was talking about summers, how many summers I had left. And he's like, yeah, I've got 4,000 something or other. And he counted out. He had a thing behind him that counted down how many weeks and months and days and seconds if he was to live to an average life. And we got into this conversation about stoicism and, valuing time and this, that, and the other. And I stopped and went, Nancy would not be happy with this conversation. Because you told me the second thing I took from our conversation was how we should just live completely in the present. Nothing's promised. And you told me to stop counting my summers. So I have. I've stopped counting those summers, Nancy.
So in a way, I'm so glad that it was resonant in some way. At the same time, someone like Adam who, I almost feel like, well, Nancy, just shut your pie hole. Like, it's like, however that man, configures his days, so that just gets me right at the core.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. So that said, you and I have something in common. We have many things in common, but one thing we have in common is we spent a lot of time pushing down things.
Yes, we did.
Okay. So I was just talking about this yesterday. I have made the choice not to say, oh my goodness, if I could only have all those years back that I pushed things down and different things, but if I could only have those years back, that I think is a poor use of my resources. So what I choose instead isn't that interesting? All that time that I spent uncomfortable in my skin, and I'm so glad I got comfortable. And I'm going to make sure that all the time left, whatever that is, I embrace, celebrate, and embody that. And look at what an interesting path. You see the different, it's a different experience for your body and brain.
But that's what I'm talking about. That's the bit I took from you, which is that reframing thing. And because I think I said on our podcast again, which you kind of helped me with, which is what you're referring to is I pushed down a very fundamental part of myself for 50 years.
Yep.
And even when I say it out loud, I go, oh my God, 50 years.
Yeah.
But you helped me see, well, great, at least you got there. And now you're going forward in your, fully authentic self, living the life you could never have imagined.
Right.
And who knows what's next. And I think what you're referring to, and I hope we get onto this, is you and your band that you essentially kind of, I don't know, an ambition of yours that was eventually fulfilled.
Yeah.
So tell us a bit about that then. We can't leave that hanging. Let's do that and then we'll get into the format.
Yeah. So, you too, we have music in common. You came out of the blocks blaring, you were ready to go, as an embryo. I was scared to death until I was 40 to sing. So I started singing at age 40 only because I was petrified of regretting, not trying. So music is a huge creative outlet for me. And at that time I said it was more uncomfortable to not try it than try it. And I've been singing and performing and now writing music and recording. It's just a love of mine. It's a heart connected passion of mine. The interesting thing is, and I don't think we talked about this, but I'm bringing it up now. The interesting thing about music and how much it means to me, and that's how I met my husband, is when you exercise those muscles, things happen that are not linear. What I mean by that is the musical life that I've led since age 40, so 25 years now, has made me a performer, which is very different than being a musician. You know this, right?
I do.
You can be a musician, a session musician, a studio musician. You can play in your house. You can be brilliant. It's not performing. So all those years of learning how to perform in front of an audience has made me very comfortable being in front of an audience. And now, as a keynote speaker, it is a performance art for me. So it scratches that itch, it exercises my creative muscle, and I get to share the message that I'm trying to share, which is you don't have to feel this way. You can create the experience you want by creating the thoughts that serve you.
Yeah.
So it's just, who would have thought that?
Well, it's back to your point about you don't have to feel icky. Icky, I suppose I'd say, because you don't have to feel uncomfortable in your own skin anywhere.
No.
I love that. And, I was smiling to myself when you were speaking. There was a moment in our podcast where you were describing all of that. And I think Matt turned to me and said, how did you feel when you first started singing? And I said, oh, I never had stage fright. I had stage excitement.
Yes.
And that's been played back to me a few times since. A few people who've listened have gone, oh, I love that line. But it's like, I can't really relate to stage fright, but I can certainly apply it to the other parts of my life where I've kind of held back because I was afraid of something. Yeah. So it's that coming out of yourself, whatever that looks like. And that thing about transferable, I guess what I'm also hearing when you're speaking is that performance thing is so transferable. It can be whether you're holding court at a dinner party, like I say, keynote speaking, leading a meeting, right. Anything where you are out giving and influencing people in front of you. You know, to me, the ultimate influencing is with a microphone on a stage in front of people who are smiling back at you, right? Yes. And I look over my career, being able to do that absolutely fast-tracked me.
Yes.
Because other humans are super impressed if you can do it, I think, at some core level.
I think so. But it underscores the point that we all are made up of parts. We're parts. So you had a part that just was exceedingly comfortable on stage from the get-go. No hesitation. You had another part that was loath to be your authentic self. Would not do it. 50 years. I mean, so that shows you the power these parts have.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I get it. Yeah. All right. Well, here's to us, and all who get the benefit of our.
We're gonna do a girl band. We're gonna just do a girl band. You know, the whole thing. The
I'm up for that.
Epaulette.
Come to Boston.
Your
epaulettes. Oh my God! I can't believe I told everybody that.
I love that.
All right. Listen, we could talk all day, and I hope when we do meet in person, we just never stop. But to do the format, the next question I like to ask people is how they found choosing their 5, because everybody I've spoken to has a different experience of it and has a different approach. So I'm just curious to see what yours was.
Choosing
your 5 people that we're going to talk about.
My 5 people.
Yeah. Oh, how was it for you?
It was not difficult.
Okay, good.
And it wasn't obvious at first. I had to kind of sit with it. But once I did and just like opened myself up to just don't overthink it.
Yep, absolutely.
And some of them may be unconventional as far as how you do it, but
I don't mind.
I'm getting my notes right now because I have them written down, and I want to make sure I don't forget anybody. But yeah, it may be a little unconventional. One of my people.
Oh, I know you're air quoting people because and so many people are messing with this format. I'm going to have to start getting stricter. I'm only kidding. I really don't mind. But I've had a few people on here. I mean, even going back to Adam again, he included the entire 9/11 experience, and I said, well, that's 8 billion people. You just cheated. Because, not a single person was unaffected by that day.
Well,
but, so yeah, I think some latitude will be allowed. I feel like a headmistress now. All right. Well, listen, I'm intrigued then. I'm looking forward to getting into this. So should we get started? Who's number 1?
Yes. Number 1, this is the unconventional one.
Okay.
My 2 children.
All right. So far, not that unconventional. Where are you going with this?
Okay. So, I think when you become a parent, when someone becomes a parent, it brings out another part of them, or it forces the creation of another part of them, however you want to look at it. And these children have taught me a lot about myself. Besides the obvious accolades of it's life-changing, it's, all the things. But it also teaches you about yourself. And I continue to learn from them, even though they're both adults, launched and all that. Mm-hmm. And it's not like, capacity to love and all that, which is beautiful, but that's not what I'm talking about. They hold you accountable to your foibles, to your frailties.
Yeah.
And they force you to look at your own wounds, because you will parent from a place of wounds as well as all the good stuff. But, when I become overprotective, or I have a very reactive, I get very reactive about something, it forces me to look at my own wounds and how I'm projecting that onto them. By the same token, by noticing yourself, changing your thought patterns, sticking to fact, not fiction, you can heal whatever generational trauma there is, whatever in the bloodlines you have learned from modeling and from watching your own parents. You can then change that and shift it. So it is a fabulous opportunity to kind of understand yourself a little bit better and do a little meta exercise when you have children. And besides the fact that I love them more than life, that is why they were on the list.
Well, I think the loving more than life thing is a lesson in itself. I think until you have children, you don't really know what that means. It's that absolute visceral cellular level of love that it doesn't exist anywhere else. And
Right.
With obviously great love comes great pain and suffering and stress, because you do love them more than life, and it can be incredibly difficult. But I love the idea of what you're saying there about healing wounds. Do you think of anything specific when you were doing that process of thinking about that? Could you share with us, or did you did you remember a specific example of it when you were thinking it through?
Yes. Yes, I did. It's maybe a silly example, but it's real. One of my children was having a struggle. Like, they're young people launching into adulthood. Of course, they're having struggles. But in this particular case, I had a disproportionately dramatic reaction to it. Like,
You did.
yeah. Mama bear claws came out, super protective, super, like, just extremely agitated. And it was in a therapy session, my therapist said to me, your reaction is disproportionate to the facts of the situation. And I said, what do you mean? How could, well, is anybody in gonna die? Is there a physical threat? Is there are they taken hostage? Like, she was being a little, like,
provocative. Yeah.
And she said, so that's coming from a place of your own lived experience. Let's talk about, let's unpack it. I just went into my nervous, my nervous system just, and I didn't have the awareness to notice that this may be coming from my own experience. We unpacked it, talked about, my upbringing, all the things. And then it made perfect sense to me. Like, my goodness, I am reacting to my own life. This is really very little to do with this normal adult challenge they're facing. This has to do with me going back to being 11 or whatever it was. And then I even brought it to them. I said, I want to know how you feel about how I showed up there. Well, it was a little intense, Mom, gotta say. Like, it wasn't really that big a deal. And how interesting. So, I got curious about it and I learned from it. And then now the next time, because of course it will happen again, I will be on notice. Oh, okay. That's that thing I'm doing. Let's take a look at it. You see what I mean? It's like these things, it's not the obvious thing. When we think about being a parent, we think about, we're going to guide them, protect them, help them.
Yeah.
And
not that we're going to learn huge things about ourselves. Yeah.
Yes. So,
and no one can trigger you as much as your kids. I really think that. I think that's why we have them in some ways. It is all about generational healing.
Yeah.
Because the idea is, hopefully we do a better job. I mean, that sounds judgmental.
Different job.
A different job.
Yeah.
Everything's got its own sort of timestamp, isn't it? And what's appropriate today to before. So I think, I try not to look back in my ancestry and think, well, why didn't you try it this way? Well, of course, they didn't have the same society that we have. But I love the idea of your children healing you. And I love the idea of paying attention to an overreaction. Happened to me the other day. I overreacted at something.
Did you?
And at first, yeah. And at first I was like, you know what you're like when you're overreacting. It's everybody else's fault, right? So I'm just like, oh, this person did this, or this person said that, or this situation happened to me.
Yes.
And then I had to stop and really think about it. And I said, well, it's an overreaction. So why?
Right.
And I went back into the why, and I was like, oh, it's actually at my door. And I had to really think about it. And then I did the same. I went back to my the person I'd overacted with and said, I think this is what went on there. And we ended up having a really great chat about it. So I think the message I'm hearing is pay attention to the overreactions. They're trying to teach us something, aren't they? They're trying to get our attention.
Yes.
Mm.
Yes. Yes. If you notice them. And by the way, like if someone mimics the way they were raised with their own children, that may be beautiful. You know what I mean? But just be aware that you're doing it. Like notice yourself. Yeah.
Oh, that whole thing about noticing anyway. Isn't that all what we're trying to get? Trying to notice
not
in
judge.
others,
Yes.
and not judge. Notice things, but not judge. But also, we want to be noticed for our uniqueness. And I always think that's such a paradox. It's like,
yeah,
I have my bad days, or I can be as human as everybody else and go, oh, look at that person, I'll have an opinion. And I just think, oh, right, I've just reduced that person to that one behavior. How would I feel if that were how people saw me?
Oh, right.
We're all complex. We're all multifaceted. We're all just wanting to be noticed for our unique, special selves. And yet, on a day-to-day level, we're quite reductive, aren't we? We just go, that person is that person. That person is this. And of course, it never is.
Yes. And rigid. Like it's this or it's that. Oh, there's so much in the and space,
Aren't people great? People are everything. There we go. I've not said that yet.
People are everything. It's great. Did you come up with that yourself?
I did.
It's awesome.
Thank you. I wrote it ages ago. I wrote a Substack. I haven't really told. Do you know? I realised I haven't said much on the entire. I've done about like however many I've done these now. I actually told anybody how I even came up with it and why I'm doing it. People ask me in general, but should we do it now? Should I just tell you?
Yes.
But it started with my book. I wrote a book called The House on Dogbone Street, which was me trying to work out all the things that happened to me and put it into sort of book form. And I realised looking back that it was quite an homage to all the main characters that helped me through it. And it was really much honouring them. There's almost pretty much a chapter per person. And if it wasn't a person, it was a moment in time, right? So it was really my way of kind of ordering it a bit. But I realised afterwards that it was quite a love story of everybody that was in there for me to kind of celebrate into the world and give thanks. And then that turned into a Substack thing called People Are Everything, where I focused on belonging. And that was my next thing. Because I think we're all craving that. Everybody craves belonging. And so I was trying to make sense of that. And that was, that led on to, well, what's next? And I knew I couldn't keep up any subject matter expertise because I'm not one. I don't have any kind of formal credentials in this area. And I wanted something that was very open-ended. I wanted it to just keep running and running and running until I ran out of steam. And so I wanted something very open-ended, very immediate as well, and very real. And I just thought, well, what if I had to put my book into 5 people only and had to really think about it? What would that look like?
Yep.
And then it was like, well, now I'm just fascinated by everybody's 5. I just want to know who your 5 would be if you had to tell your story. And that's how it evolved. And then I went on a couple of podcasts and really enjoyed the format. And I thought, this is what I want to do. I want to just chat with people and find out their 5 and kind of give a platform for it.
So such a cool origin story. There it is.
There it is.
Here.
First time. I should have maybe done that at the beginning. Didn't think about it. Well, is there anything more you want to say about your 2 gorgeous children, or do you want to move on from there?
We can move on, but I'll just say that I have tremendous gratitude. I think lots of times kids feel like, they are grateful to parents, if they are, and they look to parents for help and guidance. But I'm not sure they all know that parents are grateful for their light in their, so I'm grateful for my children. And now we can move on to that.
Oh, good. Well, I hope they listen to this and hear it and play it back over and over again. All right, then. Brilliant. Let's talk about number 2.
Number 2 is my dad.
Mm-hmm.
My dad, who died at 71, tragically. He had a brain tumor, glioblastoma. But my dad was hugely influential in my life, and not because he was a perfect person or he was, everything that I wanted to be or any of those things. He was quintessentially human. He was flawed. He had a lot of insecurities and a lot of struggles that as I'm aging, I look back and reflect and I see the struggles that he had and how he did the best he could while making mistakes like the rest of us. But he taught me to be, he taught me that I could do anything. He told me that I could do anything. And that he always would say, Nancy, make sure you piss in the soup whenever you can. He taught me to be irreverent, to question things, to trust myself. Now, in all things professional, educational, academic, when it came to personal relationships or heart-connected things, he was not a person to talk to about that because of his own wounds. Mm-hmm. So I got mixed messaging from my dad. But he died in 2004, and I think of him constantly, all the time, not in an unhealthy way, but little things will come to me about something he said or a learning. He was always teaching. So he had a huge impact on my love for reading, my love for writing, appreciation of art, music. He would hold my hand and we would stand in front of this Heathkit stereo that he built. And he introduced me to Boots Randolph and Sergio Mendes and all of the jazz greats, Benny Goodman. And he was like a quixotic kind of character. Yeah. He was just intellectually, he was just brilliant, interesting. And I just adored him. And he was taken too soon. And my dad had a huge impact on a lot of my parts.
He sounds amazing.
Yeah, he was.
You're very fortunate. I can see what you mean by the polarity of, or not the polarity. What am I thinking of? It's like, I don't know, the idea that you've got someone who's such a strong teacher, and I can just picture him as you were talking, just kind of helping you with everything of understanding all kinds of things about yourself and the world, but that he was suffering in his own way and not being able to put that into practice, perhaps.
Yeah.
In his own sort of learning and development.
Yeah.
So there's a selflessness in that, which I really like. And I think what else is, first of all, I've never heard the expression "piss in the soup." Did he make that up? Was that a thing?
I don't think he did, but I wrote. I wrote a book in 2004, the year he died, and I dedicated it to him and put that in because he said it all the time.
It's such a great, as soon as you said it, I was like, yeah, piss in the soup. It means don't do the same, mess things up a bit.
Yeah.
Like challenge things.
Yeah.
Don't, just because it's there doesn't mean you can't kind of, I was going to swear then, mess with it a bit. That's what I'm going to say.
Mess with it a bit.
Mess with it a bit.
And I think I shared with you, I was with him, I was alone with my father when he died. And I think maybe that's part of, that is a big part of my memory of him now, but it's a gift. I view it as a gift. It's a total gift, but it's a surreal space. It's a really surreal space when you're with a loved one as they pass over. And I just feel like he's with me a lot.
Do you remember that moment? Like, could you share that with us? Could you share the exact moment of passing and how you felt directly after that? I'm really interested in that.
Yeah. So I was ready to leave the hospital and I was going to return early the next morning. my father, as I said, had a brain tumor. So the tumor was growing rapidly and putting pressure on his ocular lobe. And his left eye was filling with blood. I mean, it was, it was late, and my mom and sister had just left, and I was like, okay, I guess I'm going to come back tomorrow. And the nurse said, please don't go. Don't go.
They knew.
And so when she said that, she said, he knows you're here, and he's going to be gone soon. And he sort of like lifted his head and looked around. I said, what is happening? Like, because I was just a mess. She said, he knows it's a last kind of bit of lucidity. It happens sometimes. So I stayed, and she said, I'll let you be with him. And she left, and there we were alone. And I laid my head on his chest because I wanted to hear his heartbeat. And I was looking up at his eye that was getting more and more red. And I just stared at him, and I was sobbing. But then he was looking right at me with that big red eye, and I heard his heart stop. And it still gets me.
Yeah, I've got goosebumps listening.
Yeah, and it felt like he was peaceful in that moment. He saw me, whether he could really see me or not, but he was looking at me, and his eyes remained open. And I said goodbye. I love you. Goodbye, Daddy. And then I closed his eyes. It felt like energy, I don't know, left the room, went through me. I can't really describe it. I had the thought, the presence of thought to look at the clock. And then I just kind of wandered out to the nurse's station, and I was like, my dad's gone. Like, it was almost, at the time I was in shock, but it was a beautiful experience as I look back on it. And just laying my head like that and being so close and connected,
I've never heard anything like it, Nancy. I've never heard anyone describe that moment with such an intimacy about you having your head on his chest.
Yeah.
And the heartbeat. I mean, the heartbeat is so, it is your life force, isn't it? So you were there to witness when that stopped forever.
Yeah.
And I love the idea that you were the last thing he saw as he passed over, and that he had that lucidity, like the nurse said, for that moment to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much about that. It's so beautiful, honestly. I think anyone listening to this now is going to be thinking, wow, that's really a special moment. It must have been hard, though.
It was
I imagine that was for a while. I bet. Was there any part of you who just wanted to get out of that room before that moment?
No.
So, because some people could really, I've never been at point of death. I've been very close after. I've never been at point of death with a loved one. I imagine there's a fight or flight moment, isn't there, where you think, I could just leave now. I don't want to see this.
It's funny. I never experienced that at all, because I just think I felt this poor man, like,
yeah,
he woke up one day and so he did the crossword, and 2 months later he was there.
Yeah.
And so, I didn't feel that. That's not to say it's right or wrong. I just didn't experience it because I had a level. I think I wanted that connectivity with my dad, who some of his parts were very rigid and inaccessible and others weren't. And in that moment, it was just me and my dad. And 4 years later, on the same day, my mother died, and I was with her on the same day 4 years later. So there was just a lot of energy and heart connection in my family in many ways. And that was, I think, a real gift. And I remember calling my sister and telling her he's gone. And she just said, I'm so sorry you were alone. And I didn't, and I said, thanks, but it's okay. It's okay.
And was it a similar experience with your mom, or was it different?
No, it was different. It was different because my mom was a very steady decline with dementia and Parkinson's disease, and she was just ravaged. Her body was so ravaged. We had time to process this decline. Whereas my dad, it was like...
just all of a sudden, yeah.
Yeah, and my sister and I were together at my mother's bedside, so that was a different and a lovely experience also.
I think it's when we were all thinking about mortality, we mostly think about us experiencing it for ourselves, don't we? When's our day? How's it going to be?
Yeah.
But actually, if you live a life of love, which I hope we all do, of course there's going to be loss, and that experience of that is as monumental, if you like, as and anyone who's lost anyone. I mean, I don't think you can even explain grief to any. A bit like trying to explain parenting. You can't explain grief until you have to experience it.
Right.
And it's as monumentous as your own death is experiencing the passing of your own parent.
I agree.
So, well, that was. I mean, I'm really glad I asked a bit more about that because, as I say, I think anyone listening would have really felt the same way I did in that moment. So, thank you for sharing that. And I'm sorry for your losses.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
All right, then. Number 3. Who's number 3?
Number 3 is my therapist.
Okay.
Who shall remain nameless because she would be absolutely, probably horrified if she knew I listed her as one of my 5. But I have been with this woman for probably close to 15 years. And I believe she has saved my life.
Yeah.
Not in a, called a helpline kind of way, in a consistent, dedicated practice she has built with me, where she never gave up on me and she encouraged me not to give up on myself. And I don't know how to say it other than that. Like, it was because, there were days when I walked into her office and sat down and just said, I don't want to be here. I'm never going to feel better. This is all crap. This is not, it's not working. It's not. And she never faltered. She said, keep doing the work. Keep doing the work. It's cumulative. It is going to be better. Like, she just didn't give up. And because of that, I didn't give up. Because at a certain point, even though there's very strict boundaries with a therapist, you're not friends, you're not pals, there is, after all those years, you develop, you don't want to let them down. You don't want to, if you have good chemistry with them. And I didn't want to let her down at a certain point. And there were dark days where I really just didn't want to be anywhere. And while functioning in my life, living and working, just raising kids and being in a marriage and all that shit. But we have parts, right? So some of my parts were pretty dark. And she taught me the strategies, helped me develop some of my own that I teach now to people. And it changed my life. As I shared with you, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder at age 40. I was on psychotropic medication cocktail for 17 years. It was with my therapist one day, after doing all this work and developing strategies and reframing thinking and on and on and on, I said, I'd like to try to get off of these meds, because I was making so much progress probably in the last 10 years. And she said, well, then let's try. You have bipolar, it's a lifetime sentence. You have to stay on this cocktail, or you could, she said, we're going to be very careful. We're doing it with your med manager and your support system, and we're going to notice anything, and you're going to help make sure your family raises your awareness if they notice anything. And over an 18-month period, we titrated off of these meds, and it's been that way for the better part of 7 years. So a lot is possible, period. But this woman made a lot possible for me that I never would have imagined. So she has to be on the list.
Well, there's so much I want to sort of speak into on that. Firstly, I absolutely agree. I think, I've had a therapist pretty late in life who did help me come to all my sort of life-changing decisions. And I just regard her as just like my smartest friend, who I can, and that safe space at where that's the one place you can be absolutely your truest self, because that's part of the deal with a therapist. It's like, you can lie to a therapist, of course you can. It's a waste of time, though. Literally is a waste of time. You may as well just kind of be honest. And I want to go back to this idea of you being supported through your medication. I just want to share something very, very, I say very personal to me, and I've never talked about this. But after my son was born, I had my children really close together. I had, I think, a 16-month gap, which is no gap, really. And I really suffered that first year with a toddler and a newborn. And sleep went out the window. My body was just all over the place. And I think eventually I got sepsis from the tiniest of cuts. And it was very serious. I was very life-threatened. And the doctors afterwards were like, okay, tell us about your life. And because it's unusual, you shouldn't have got sepsis from you're in your early 30s and you're fit and well. So I told them, and I said, I just don't sleep. I don't this. I'm completely vigilant 24/7. I don't remember the last time I even closed my eyes. And this has been going on for months and months. And so they put me on, I think it was something quite similar to what you may have been on, because it was in the realm of sort of manic behavior. I was manic. I was so stressed out with my responsibilities. I had no mum of my own. I didn't know my mum at all. So I had no maternal figures in my life. And I was really just trying to figure it all out. And I remember being super stressed because of the responsibility and the love that I was feeling for these children. And I remember, you're going to be appalled by this next statement because you know how dangerous these things are. But they put me on this medication. And I was on it for a few months to kind of settle me. And then I just didn't bother telling anybody that I was going to just stop. And I just stopped.
Oh, dear.
I can't tell you. Have you ever seen the film Trainspotting? It's all about these guys coming off heroin. And it's the nearest thing I can say to describe it. Everything failed. I had ulcers the size of pennies in my mouth, like 5 or 6 of them. I bled from everywhere. I had a sinus infection that just ravaged me. I had a chest infection. Everything went crazy. I've never been so ill, and I was physically ill. Even though I was taking this tiny little tablet that was to help me sleep, coming off it hardcore, half killed me. Then I had to take it back again so I could stabilize. And then it took probably about the same, about 18 months. And I was on a 1 milligram dose. And it was 1 milligram to no milligram over 18 months of really careful withdrawal. And I never, ever realized how powerful these drugs were. I just took them in my desperation. I needed to sleep. I was a young mum, and they saved my life. I'm not complaining at all. The doctors did exactly the right thing. But it's like just knowing just how incredibly powerful these things are and how much you do need to take support if you're going to come off those. So I've never.
Oh my gosh, Julia, that's so scary, and I can totally get it. Like you still hear stories. They're just. It's almost a it's a punchline. They're off their meds, which is terrible. I think it's terrible that we say things like this. But when you just change your chemistry that abruptly, it can lead to psychotic breaks and all kinds of awful things that happen. And I'm very careful about this because it's not appropriate for everyone who has bipolar disorder. It is not appropriate. It's not the path that everyone can follow. And I know that they helped me a lot in that time of my life. But I'm also careful where people say, well, sure, you had the resources, you had the support system, you had the help. It's a privilege. And yes, I agree. I was very lucky to have all that. But I share the story just because it wasn't that everything went away and got better and I went off medication and now I don't have bipolar. Do I still get dysregulated? Of course. I notice when it's coming, when it's happening, and I have strategies that help me regulate. And that's the secret. That's the ticket, right? So I'm very careful when I talk about it that doesn't sound like a Willy Wonka story. It's while I was titrating off these meds, I continued my work. I'm still in therapy once a week, every week with this person on my list of 5, and I don't ever foresee myself stopping. It's like taking care of yourself.
No, I mean, that's how I'm hearing it, by the way. I'm hearing it as you're giving thanks to your therapist, you're acknowledging her support of you and, just how fortunate you are to have her in your life.
Yep.
But I think you're also sharing it to be helpful.
Yes.
To other people who are listening and going, gosh, that sounds a bit like me. Or, I don't know, even if it's something they put in their back pocket and think about with someone else, they might think more kindly towards someone who's going through something similar. So I think I heard it as a spirit of helpfulness and gratitude, actually.
Yeah.
And I can see why you want to be careful because it's such a deeply personal thing and when I say personal, I mean privately personal, but also individual.
Yeah.
Like everybody is going to have a different experience.
Yes.
Of that situation. So, anyway, and it encouraged me to share something. So that's always a good thing. This is...
Man, Julia, that's a story, man.
Oh, it was awful, Nancy. I was frighteningly ill.
But did you have, did your husband help you with the kids? Like, who helped you?
He would have wanted to. And I think that was all part of the problem. I was like, I was that mum who I could do it all. Don't you worry. I've got this.
Well, and it goes back to those generational wounds, right?
Yeah,
you didn't know what you don't know what you don't know.
Oh, if I could have it all again, and I know you don't like going backwards, but if I got my little time machine, I would have asked for some help. All I needed was help, and everybody would have given it to me. But oh my God, I made motherhood a competitive sport, I think, and it was like an ultra marathon competitive sport. Like I was going to do it the fastest, the hardest, the most grueling and difficult way. And it was almost like that's how I show my love. It's like my love's so big. How can I demonstrate that? I'll demonstrate that by running the 1,000-mile ultra marathon. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
So it wasn't I don't think he could have done anything about it.
But you know what you'll be able to do if and when your children ever decide to become parents? You can share that with them. And that will help inform their journey. So it's all, there's no time.
No, I know. Back to time again. We did that a lot, didn't we, with Matt?
Yes, we did.
Oh, well, listen, I'm glad we got into that. And thank you for sharing all of that. And if the therapist is listening, she'll be feeling quite chuffed. Do you say chuffed in America?
I don't, but I will start.
Yeah, start saying that. Oh, I feel really chuffed today. It means I feel really good. It feels a nice feeling.
Full of beans, chuffed.
Full of beans, chuffed. You can start, and I'm going to start pissing in soup. That's what I'm going to do. Figuratively, of course. Well, maybe not. All right, number 4 then, please, Nancy.
Number 4 is, and these are not in order of importance. I remember Matt saying that, so I want to make sure I say it.
All right.
Mr. Ralph Capasso. Mr. Capasso was my 10th grade English teacher. So in 10th grade, my father's job moved to the Netherlands, and we all moved to the Netherlands. So I lived in Holland when I was 15, and I went to an international school. It was an amazing experience, and I had a lot of brilliant teachers. When I returned to New York and went back to my old school, I was in 10th grade English with Mr. Capasso. And one of the first things he assigned was he wanted each of us to write a autobiographical poem. And I always dreamt of being a writer. I love words. So I dug into this assignment. And I wrote this autobiographical poem in 5 parts. And I remember handing it to my father the day before it was due. And my father took the paper. He went downstairs, which is where he always read and did his all his hobbies. And then he walks up the stairs and he hands it to me. And he doesn't say anything.
Mm-hmm.
He's just smiling. So I was like, okay, well, that could mean a lot of things. And you didn't really dig with my dad. If you didn't want to talk, you didn't push him. So I handed in. Mr. Capasso returns my paper. And on the back, the whole page is taken up. And this is not why he's my person. A+, big circle. And he said, humbly, I praise your work. Please try to publish this.
Oh.
I was 15. It blew my mind. But the reason he was so impactful is because he believed in me in a way that no one else ever had. Like, really, like he said, "Where did you go to school? Where were you again?" Like, he was so curious about me. And in that moment, it wasn't like teacher student. I felt elevated by this man who I really respected, who taught me about Hemingway and Fitzgerald and all these authors that I just so admired. And then when I graduated, he wrote in my yearbook the last lines of The Great Gatsby. And I remember reading them, boats beating on against the current ceaselessly into the past. I butchered it, and I read it and I was like, wow, he really thinks I can do something with my writing. It was such a huge, and I share this proudly because teachers can be that to kids, and it doesn't have to be that you hang out and your pals. It's that they teach you something about yourself, or they make you believe in possibilities that you may not otherwise have. And I was a writer for 35 years, freelance writer, and I wrote a book about parenting. So Mr. Capasso was a huge influence on me, and he opened the gates, for me in many ways. And I'll just never forget him. And he died several years ago, and I was so sad when he did. But just a great, great guy.
There's a theme here with lots of the people I've spoken to. Many people want to acknowledge and honor that one teacher who saw your potential. And I wonder how many teachers alive today realize how impactful they are, good and bad.
Yes.
I'm going to quickly flip that on its head a moment, because that's a memory popped into my head while you were speaking of what the opposite of that is.
Yeah.
Because I did go on to be not a writer of your great achievements, but certainly a lifelong writer of things, and published a couple of bits. But it's like, I had a teacher, and I don't know the grade system, but let's say I was probably about 9 or 10. And I remember putting in this piece, a creative piece, and being really proud of it. And it stuck with me because it came back to me with the second half completely crossed out in red, like literally one line across it, and all of it crossed out in red, in jaggedy lines. Just no, red, 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 red. And at the bottom, in really, really more red and really underlined, none of this could have happened because from here onwards you were dead, therefore you had no consciousness, so therefore this doesn't work. Right? And I remember the story was about me struggling in water. In the halfway through, I was struggling with water and I drowned. But then I was talking about what I would be experiencing if from that moment as if there was an afterlife. And at 9 years old, I was exploring these creative ideas. And it wasn't like I didn't know that death doesn't, equates to lack of consciousness. It wasn't like I'd made a mistake. He just didn't get it.
Right.
But rather than question me and ask me, he just put a red pen through every single bit of it and handed it back to me almost with a sense of disgust. Why would I have written that? And I always remember, I won't say his name, but I always remember it. And then it did affect me a bit. But then when I got into secondary school, so I was probably now 12, 13, I gravitated to my English teachers in particular.
Isn't that interesting that you,
Yeah, I thought I'm going to seek out somebody who understands my thought process and my creativity. And I did. I found some wonderful teachers, and then they just completely different experience.
So you got curious. You got curious instead of accepting that. Isn't it interesting? It's this, and now that you're talking about it, it brings to mind, I met Mr. Capasso when I probably needed to meet him, but as a sixth grader. So that would be primary school for you. As a sixth grader, I had a teacher who did not connect with me and I didn't understand anything. And he was the equivalent of your jaggedy red lines. And he actually called my house one day and told my mother, she's just not very bright.
Oh. What's his problem?
She's just not very bright. So just like we'll call him Mr. Garvey. I call him Mr. Garvey in my keynote because it's a very informative story in my life. So I was set up to believe, ooh, that was my inner dialogue. Ooh, I'm not bright. And Mr. Garvey says I'm not bright. So your teacher was sending you a message too. And then you sought out the opposite. You sought out another point of view. And that's, I think, Mr. Capasso, that made him more impactful on my life even. Because oh, he doesn't think I'm not bright. It's just amazing what these teachers can do.
Yeah. And when someone behaves that way towards a young person, I always want to know what's happened to you.
Right. What's happened? It's all about
what happened to you.
Yeah.
Why did you seek this? Why was this important to you to bring up? Why do you want to crush this person's spirit?
Yes.
But we haven't got time to figure that out today, using the time thing again, Nancy. But I would love to get into that with you in Boston over a beer, which is what's going to be happening. Okay, good. Oof, teachers. So, yes, they can be incredible in both directions. So, number 5. Who's number 5?
5. Uncle Joe. My Uncle Joe. There's just not enough time. So my Uncle Joe was my mother's brother. He, was my godfather. I was raised in a Catholic family. Just to give context, the kind of, he was a single man, no children of his own. And my sister and I became his, charge, I guess. But he just loved us endlessly. And he was big and body and bold Italian guy, Italian-American. Loved food, loved cigars, was a brilliant guy, successful man, worked in textiles. And ever since I can remember, he was just big and loud and fun. Loved music, was in a band, played saxophone, just everything, almost like a caricature. And I just adored him from when I was a little girl. But as I got older, I started to, wonder about my Uncle Joe. Like, what is really your story? Like, you've never married. Are you gay? I was curious about his life experience because as he got older, I was like, he's alone. And my sister and I took care of him as he got elderly, and we moved him into a retirement facility ultimately. And he always would, when I would leave a visit with him, I would find a note tucked in my purse. Something like, you are pure love, or thank you for loving me, or something, and the story that is one of the biggest for Uncle Joe, besides just all the fun we had. And he always got us the best and brightest new toy or whatever it was. He was amazing. He was old and in this facility, and for some reason, my sister and I started to worry about him. And we decided he should have one of those Lifeline, the necklace
that panic button thing. Yeah.
And I said, let's just get it. And I went to his apartment and installed the thing, and and as we know now, it's established, I was having some mental health challenges as a younger woman. And one of the challenges I was having was I had an eating disorder. And so I would go into these alternating periods of starvation and binge eating and compulsive exercise and everything. So I go to Uncle Joe's apartment, I install the thing. And then we go out to lunch at this place he loved, Gus's, German food. It was just adorable. And we eat our lunch. And then he's like, well, let's have dessert. And I said, nah, no thanks. And he said, Nancy, you always want to have dessert. And we had a lovely visit. And at about 11:30 that night, my sister called me. She said he pushed the button. And he didn't make it. So many things from that story, because he resisted this. He said, I'm fine. I don't need. He was just a funny guy. I don't need it. God will take care of me. And he pushed the button because he was scared and he wanted help. And then they just couldn't get to him in time. He had a massive heart attack. And I remember that day. like I just put the thing in. It's almost like, what? And then, and that was really impactful and set me on a journey of healing for that eating disorder, which I thought would never get resolved. And again, with the help of my therapist and just, I guess, stubbornness and sheer force of will, I did resolve it. And I think of him all the time. Like, he was bigger than life and taught me things he probably didn't even, like he was always a confidant about my professional life, my career in finance and all the things I did. And he would take us to lunch, my sister and I, in the city, and to these fancy restaurants. And it was just a fantastic relationship. But he taught me more than he knew.
Well, so much here as well. I mean, what do I want to ask you first? I suppose the relationship, let's break it down a bit. So the lack of being another partner, I can understand exactly where your mind went there. We always want people to partner up, don't we?
Yeah.
And it makes us sad when we see people alone. And, there could be a myriad of reasons why he chose that life. It could be that he was always searching, just never found anybody that made him feel the way he needed to be to feel. Or it could be a sexuality issue. And men of that generation, right? I mean, I can speak for that, can't I? 50 years, back to that again. It really wasn't accepted, so it was very suppressed. He's like, better to be single than risk being authentic and the judgment that might come with it, which is such a tragedy. Yeah. That was my dad's story, by the way. My dad was a gay man, and he never got to come out. Never had love. Never had a relationship. And very, very sad, because if there was ever a person who could have really done with it, it was him. But he was of that era, born in 1929. It was illegal for most of his adult life.
Yeah.
So I feel for Joe if that was the case, but it might not have been. It could be a multitude of reasons. But the fact he dedicated his time to you all,
and to our grandma, to my maternal grandmother, he took such good care of her.
Oh, he sounds delightful. And the timing thing of the panic button and him making that last. I mean, when you said you always want to make time for dessert, it's quite. You could take that literally. Just dessert is lovely. You just have some, but it's actually a metaphor, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's why you said it the way you said it, which was you always want to have time for dessert. It means life is short, but it has so much sweetness to offer you. Just take it when it's offered. That's how I heard it when you said it. That's right.
That's how I meant it. Yeah.
Oh, he sounds delightful. You've been very lucky, Nancy. You've had some poor cards dealt, I'll be honest. There's been a lot of challenge in your life, and you've had to overcome an awful lot. I can relate to a lot of the struggles that you've had and how you've had to come through them. And I know we share the same spirit of resilience. Put something in front of us, we'll find a way to get around it and overcome it. But it's you've also been extremely fortunate. There's some wonderful people here that have come into your life. And if I was just summarizing, what you've learned from your children in terms of how they've kind of helped you heal your wounds, I think was the phrase you said. Your dad teaching you so much, on a very kind of micro and macro level. I hear that very strongly. Your therapist saving your life over and over and over again. Your English teacher with inspiring you to go on to have your writing career. And what else have I got? And Uncle Joe was just that presence. He was just there for you the whole time as this big, what did you say? Big, bold, cigar-smoking Italian. I could completely picture him. So there's the people you've had, and I think that's absolutely wonderful. Do you recognize, I always ask this next question, do you recognize, key traits that you've now directly inherited from those people and that you carry in who you are and how you are today?
Yes. They probably cross over each other a bit. But do you want me to
I'm just curious. I want to say, because like there's so much, you've shared a lot already about the impact these guys have all had on you and these experiences. But for example, do you recognize in yourself like, oh, I've got this natural curiosity for all things because my dad bent down on the ground and he explained everything.
Yes.
From the worms to the trees.
You could not have said it. That's a little, I'm not going to lie, that's a little crazy, not crazy, eerie that you said it that way, because that's exactly what he did. Bumblebees or you know what that caterpillar, you know what that does. And you see that bird, you know why it's doing that? And it's like, really. So yes, I have a natural curiosity about everything and how things work because of him. I think the joie de vivre is from Uncle Joe. I think it's, like, big and bold, go big or go home kind of thing. And my therapist has taught me to take a beat and notice myself. That has been the biggest takeaway. Mr. Capasso taught me that, there's the guardrails are the ones that you make, that's your thing. If you create guardrails, they'll be there. But, we are boats ceaselessly born into the past, whatever. That whole Great Gatsby thing just blew me away. I still can't watch that movie or read the last line without getting emotional. Okay. And my children have taught me that it is essentially human to be messy, and I can still love and be loved exactly like that.
Amazing. That's what I wanted, Nancy. Thank you. It just makes me happy because I'm doing this for a reason. There's many reasons why I'm so invested in this podcast. And one of them is, again, it's back to that honoring thing and noticing thing that says none of us are self-made. None of us are created in isolation. We are all a product of everyone we've met and everyone who's taken the trouble to invest in us. And it won't be many people. When you really get down to it, there's only a handful of people who actually truly invest in your well-being, and they deserve to be talked about. And I more than deserves to be recognized inside you and shared with everybody. Maybe to trigger other people to think, yeah, you're right. I get my curiosity from, I get my resilience from, I get my interest in this music thing from, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just want to start a little bit of a conversation about that because so few people, I feel, and I'm guilty of it too. We're so in our own heads and we're so in our kind of day to day. That's being able to zoom out and just pay attention for a minute of, the impact of these incredible people, and pause a minute and talk about them is a big reason why I'm doing it. So
I think it's a beautiful, beautiful platform to sort of raise awareness and get people reflecting space as opposed to just the doing space. Let's take a minute and just reflect together. And it brings people together. Like when you continue to be curious about your own journey, you meet cool people like Jewel. And it's enriching to your life. It fills your cup.
Oh yeah. I mean, if all of that I just said, I made that all up. None of that is true. All I want to do is meet cool people, have great conversation, and have a few beers and put the world to rights. Going to do that too. Listen, well, thank you. I think at this stage of the session, I like to kind of, I don't know, I suppose it's more of again, it's all linked to the gratitude piece, which is, all right, Nancy, you've got to have these great people. Everyone's here has been massively invested in you. I'm very big in paying forward things too. Again, I think it's a way of honoring people again, which is I'm going to take forward something. These things that I've learned from you, these influences I've had, this investment I've had, I am going to step into the world in a certain way. Now, obviously, with your work and your writing, that is self-evident that is you paying forward all the great investment you've had. But is there a kind of a quality about you or a way of moving around the world about you, a conscious thing that you are trying to do in honoring, as an honor to the people that have helped you? Could you get where I'm coming from? So how are you taking this all forward yourself into the world?
Oh, absolutely, there is, and it's a simple concept, but not easy to execute. I want to reduce self-made suffering, because there's a lot of self-made suffering, and I want to reduce that. And I know that it's possible, and I think the message is that it is possible, but I'm not sure people know how possible it is, how much power they have to reduce their own suffering. There's some suffering we can't, there's some suffering that's just, right? It's thrust upon us and we can't, but we can change a lot. You just have to start. And it starts with one thought at a time. So that's...
Well, that brings us full circle then to when we first opened this conversation, which is, I took that from you. Reframe it. You can reframe the suffering. And in doing so, that reduces it in a heartbeat. I mean, this idea that you can't go forward without the chains of the past. I believed that for a long time. I believed that I would never recover from the childhood that I had, that I would never be able to walk through this earth without massive chains on my back. And they've gone. And I promise you, Nancy, but there's like one or two things still linger. But I'm so aware of them and I catch myself doing it and I go, yeah, I know what that is. Let's change the story. And so, and I had my fair share of things to overcome. I mean, everyone's suffering. But it's like I had my fair share. And that, when they call it the work, you mentioned the work, it is hard going. It's very seductive to carry those chains forward. It's sort of harder and easier at the same time, isn't it?
It is seductive. It is seductive to be a victim.
Yeah, to go, oh, my life's so hard. Look at my chains on my back. And sorry, I was like,
yeah.
It is seductive, and you can build a life story on it, and you can just make that the thing that props everything up, or sometimes, in my case, gives you the excuses not to do something. Yeah. But honestly, I promise you, this is not just words. I feel like all the chains have fallen away. And it is through interactions and interventions like that, people like yourself, who say you can do it. So it's very, very valuable what you're doing. And I'm so glad you found your purpose for everything that you have experienced and that you've learned about who you are and how the human condition operates and how the power of the human mind can affect your body. And I can see it. I can see that's you now. But however much time you've got left, and let's get back onto time. No, let's not do that.
No, but you, people like you, and what you're doing, give people like me permission to share, because I am kind of uncomfortable sometimes sharing this stuff because I don't want to sound melodramatic, or I don't know, like it's the me show, like I'm very careful with what I share and how I share it. But these kinds of, the integrity with which you approach this podcast and how you do it, it gives people like me permission and we feel safe to share, because I really do think the message will land with the right people and it can move the needle and give people hope. Or even I remember doing a keynote one time, and a woman came up, and there were probably 200 people in the audience, and she came up, tears running down her face. My daughter was just diagnosed with bipolar. You gave me hope today. That is the bucket of gold for me. Yeah. So thank you for doing this, and thank you for making it a safe space. And by the way, time is just a human construct. So, it's just what we make up. So
yeah, I know. And do you remember the intro that Matt gave us?
Yep.
For our thing? He just kept saying the word time over and over and over again. And I guess we must have gone on about it a bit. But thank you for acknowledging that piece about it is awkward talking about yourself, and very few people can do it. And even if they do, it's usually if they've been media trained.
Right.
In which case, it's not very authentic anyway. They're usually pushing something, or they've got the weight of their film studio on their back and they know they've got to be careful.
Yeah.
So most people don't really like talking about themselves, not really. And so again, another sort of byproduct of this, absolutely, I wanted to create a place where you could tell your story, but through other people. And everybody lights up when they get to to honor the people they want to talk about.
Yes.
Now, the idea being that you reveal so much more of yourself in that process, but the focal point is not you. And I think that's well observed on your part, and I'm so glad you did notice that, because it is very much part of the format. It's another reason why I'm doing this. So
clever there, Julia.
Is it though? I don't know. Actually, on the simplest level, it's just, as I say in the beginning, it's just Desert Island Disc, but with people instead of music. But you know what? I was encouraged to do. I'm going to start not saying it. It's a world first, everybody. I think I'm going to stop saying it, because the advice I was given was you need to give people what they're in store for in the early stages, so they can pigeonhole it and go, oh, I get it. It's Desert Island Disc, but without music and about people. So people go, oh, I know what I'm in for. But I might start dropping it, because I think it's served me well. But there is so much more to what's going on here.
It is.
So I might drop it. Listen, last question. I hope you thought of someone, but who should I speak to next and why, Nancy?
No, gosh, I did not think of, and I'm gonna come up with a name. Who should you speak to next?
Or you can save it, and when I see you in person, you can tell me then. But if you have got someone, I'd like to hear it.
So now, could it be anybody or someone in my network?
Oh, preferably. But the purpose of it is I want to keep meeting more and more and more interesting people. So
okay, I have the.
If you said to me Gandhi, I'll be like, oh, well,
okay, that's gonna be tough.
No, I know
the person. I have the person. It's a friend of. He's a good friend of mine, and a very interesting person.
Oh,
his name is Brandon Murgard, and he is the CEO of the Marshall Goldsmith Group, which is the coaching community of which I am a part. And he is, talk about layered. He's like 3D chess, like DNA layered.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you can make that happen, I'll be very, very grateful, and I'll buy you a beer. What beer do you like? I used to have Sam Adams when I was...
Adams is big here in Beantown. I actually don't really drink much anymore.
Okay.
But
alcohol-free beer then?
Kind of, I'm an athletic beer girl now.
What does that mean?
That's a non-alcoholic beer that's gotten very popular here in the States. It's delicious, and I enjoy it.
Athletic beer. All right, I'm going to try that then. I could do with a little bit less beer in my life. Okay, athletic beer. I thought that was like a euphemism for beer doesn't have any alcohol in. That's why I checked.
No, it's a good one. But I will introduce you to Brandon, and then I'll probably share this with him, or share our episode with Matt, and encourage him to do it. Yeah.
Well, listen, you know how this goes. In a minute, I'm going to press stop, and you can't go anywhere, because I like to have a post chat with my guests. So I like to say that. I seem to be saying that on the podcast these days, but because so many times I go, and thank you very much, Nancy, and then they stop and they leave, and I go, no, so I need to kind of remind people, don't go anywhere, stick around.
Thank you, Julie.
But it's been absolutely a delight. I knew it would be. I knew we'd get into stuff. I knew it would be effortless to talk to you and feel as comfortable as an old slippers.
Also, you see this? What? You see that? That ship above me?
I do now. Yes, I noticed it before.
That is a model of a whaling ship that my dad was making when he suddenly got sick, and so it still has pencil marks on the hull. And that's
incredible.
That's my dad.
Oh well, listen. On that very profound note, thank you so much for talking to me today. It was an absolute joy.
Sure.
And can't wait for Boston.
See you soon.
For my athletic beers.
Yes.
Take care. Bye-bye now. The wonderful Nancy Berger there. I hope you enjoyed that. I certainly did. And if you did enjoy it, please like, subscribe, follow, tell your friends, and get in touch. I really love hearing from you guys with your thoughts and feedback on each of these episodes. It really makes my day. So, all right, so on to next week. Next week we have Justin Castelli. I can't wait to share that one with you. Justin's an absolute live wire, and I think you're going to absolutely love our conversation. So until next week, have a great one, and I'll see you then. Take care. Bye-bye now.